I'm Tony Coulson. I'm from Cyberwatch West. Where I'm actually stationed is in Cal State San Bernardino. That's where my parole officer has told me I have to stay for a number of years. And today we're going to talk about the Centers of Academic Excellence program for two-year colleges. Before I get started, is there anybody in here that has no idea what CAE2Y is? Don't be shy. If you don't really understand it, just raise your hand. Ooh, look, we've got an educated, informed populace then. Is there anybody in here from Truckee Meadows? I was told. Right there? Okay, very good. I was told to keep an eye out for you, so I'm very excited. I have about 5 Truckee jokes, but they're all about the Donner Party, so I'll just leave that alone then. So let's get started. So Cyberwatch West, in case you don't know what Cyberwatch West is that we are a 14-state consortium of colleges and universities, and we also reach out to K through 12 to try and promote cybersecurity curriculum through a number of different initiatives. One is through student development opportunities, everything from cyber competitions to special classes. We recently, at Cal State San Bernardino, we hosted through Cyberwatch West, 300 Girl Scouts came to the campus to learn about STEM and cybersecurity. That's some of the things we do. We also do faculty development, where we'll assist faculty, train faculty. We have a course coming up right now. It's called Faculty Mentoring, your own course, where if you had an idea of, wow, if I only had these labs, if I only had these machines, how can I build it? Well, we team you with an instructional designer and other people that have built their own courses, and we provide virtual environments, and we help you build your dream course from the ground up. And that's actually fairly popular. People jump right in it, and then they realize how hard it is, and then they start to back off a little. But in the end, what you have is hosted virtual labs that you can use in your class that you know all the ins and outs for. And we pair you with people that are experts to help you walk through it. So we've had some folks that are done computer forensics that will help share their experience and help you design what you want to do in forensics. We've also had people do network security and a variety of other things. So that's what we do in faculty development. Another piece we do is we try and come up with these pathways to get folks from middle school to high school to community college to the 4-year universities to try and have those curricular pathways. And part of that mission of pathways is to try and get the community colleges and create an environment for the community colleges to be interested in the Department of Homeland Security and the National Security Agency's designation program, where they put a stamp called the Center of Academic Excellence that says that your college is certified as being one of the best in the country in the area of cybersecurity, or they call it cyber defense and information assurance. But either way, that little stamp has a lot of things attached to it. First and foremost, it makes you eligible for more grant opportunities. There are a lot of grants, particularly through NSF and the DoD, that say you must be a recognized Center of Academic Excellence. The other piece is for employment opportunities for your students. They all get to graduate. They get this extra certificate that has the NSA and DHS stamp on it. But also, there are things coming up like a CAE job fair, specifically only for students from the CAE schools. This is a pretty important designation to have. And most importantly, on my campus, it opened a lot of doors that we should be taken seriously. For example, there's an initiative within the Cal State universities where we have to reduce the number of units. And they say, well, push it down to the community colleges. And then we have, of course, our famous SB, was it 14 or 40, that we got this bottom-up push. And so somebody said, well, why are you even teaching cybersecurity? Just call it computer science, and we'll just include it in there, or ICT, we'll include it in there. And it was almost like we were going to have our program eliminated because somebody in the management department or the accounting department or the economics department doesn't want their class eliminated from unit compaction. And so what did we do? We said, well, wait, we have this piece of paper right here. It's the CAE. If you do anything to our program, you have to get their permission. I don't know, the university will lose it. And by the way, the governor of the state of California gets a copy of your CAE certificate. That's so this is an important designation, and it's something you should pursue for opportunities within your college. So part of the designation are a couple things that I just want to go over real quick, and then we'll get down to kind of some meat and potatoes curriculum issues. So first of all, the mission of the CAE, and since most of you know what it is, I won't read this verbatim, but we want to grow the number of professionals because there's a serious deficit in the number of cybersecurity professionals within this country. No news to anybody in here, right? We all know there's a deficit. And the federal government has basically said, we need to get on this, we need to get on it really quick, so they created this program. But there's some requirements. There's a bar we all have to jump through. One set of requirements is programmatic, and the other is courseware. So our emphasis today is going to be more on courseware, but I want to go over program requirements because our experience at Cyberwatch West is we have a lot of community colleges with the mapping. And we thought that would be the hard part of mapping what you're teaching to the standards. But really, where we're seeing a lot of hang-ups now is the rest of it, which is the program requirements, is the robustness of your program at your specific school. The 5 to 6 criteria that you have to meet. What they really want is they want to make sure you have a real, they want to make sure you have a real program. They want to make sure some administrator didn't just make it up, fill out some paperwork. They want to make sure there's faculty involved. They want to make sure your program is evolving. It's a living, breathing thing. That's the first bar. And then, are there certain things that you are covering? So we're going to get into are there certain things, but first let's go over some of the criteria so I can tell you some ways, in case you have some doubts, some ways you can solve that. So first and foremost, they're going to look at you, and you are going to be evaluated even with a site visit that has course content. They're going to check your course relevance. They want to see if you have computers in labs. But most of all, this is what they want to see. If they come and visit you, and it's you, and they say, well, can we talk to some of your other faculty? And you say, no. Can we talk to your administrators? And you say, no. Then they know it's a one-person band, and you're not a center of academic excellence, you're you. That's not robust. Not going to happen. Does that mean you have to have 20 faculty lines? No. At our school, we created it out of an ICT program, and we merely made changes to existing courses to thread the various knowledge units through the various courses, and all our faculty were way on board. And then we used Cyberwatch West and other entities' faculty development, and we got the faculty to go learn some new skills. Nowadays, it's actually kind of hard to slow down our faculty. We're now doing drones, and we're doing things that we've never done before because they found it's interesting, it's exciting, etc. And that's they want to see that. They want to make sure you have computers in the lab that aren't IBM XTs. Anybody still have those? I was at Orange Coast College a long time ago. They had them there, but I hope they've updated them since. Anybody from OCC here? No? Okay, good. In that case, they still have them. Just kidding. Just a dig, just kidding. It's probably somebody at OCC is going to revoke my AA degree. So, we know this, we know this, we know this. We've talked about it. Designation, Department of Homeland Security and the National Security Agency, they need this, they want it, they want to designate you for 5 years. So you only have to go through this process every 5 years. It's like a colonoscopy. Is that funny? No? I got one laugh. They've been there and done that, right? Anytime you have to, yeah, maybe, maybe. The KU mapping process is very similar to the colonoscopy prep. Just kidding. Okay, So we have 6 criteria, plus we have the full mapping of the knowledge unit. So what do those criteria look like? First of all, you have to get somebody to write a letter of intent, an executive letter of intent, which means you have to go to someone and explain what it is and have them understand and write a letter. Some schools, it's very simple. At my university, I could walk up to the provost, say, I need a letter, and he says, what does it need to say? Why don't you write it, and I'll put my name on the bottom. And so every year I have him fill out my Christmas cards for me, because he'll sign anything. But other schools are a little different, right? You have to explain it. So first you have to get that letter of intent from your president or your dean or whatever your administrative body is. The second criteria is you have to show a pattern of outreach and collaboration. Out of all of the criteria, this is the one that most people come back to me and they say, you don't understand. I have a department of introverts. I'm an introvert and I'm barely talking to you right now. We don't do outreach. And I say, yes, you do, but it might not be done in your department. Here's outreach. Does your school go to the high schools and present and say, come to our school? That's outreach. Can you get them to say the word cybersecurity in there somewhere? Sure, you probably can. Does your school have an articulation agreement with a 4-year university? That's outreach. Why don't you go pay the department chair over there a visit? Now you have a documented outreach. What they want to make sure is that you're not sitting in your little office not talking to anyone, but rather that you have some type of cooperative agreements somewhere. A lot of the documentation in the area of outreach is that articulation, merely just saying, hey, you know what? We have an agreement. We send our students to Cal State San Bernardino, Cal Poly Pomona, Cal Poly or SLO, and some of the other lesser institutions. No? Another dig. Come on. Feel free. It makes me feel better. So outreach and collaboration. If you do something, other extraordinary activities are things like student clubs. So very important. Then, what are your program efforts? Do you have a sustainable, evolving program? How do you prove you have a sustainable, evolving program? Anybody have an idea of how you might prove that to someone? Your years of teaching or how many years a class has been on the books, right? Okay, interesting. Yes?
What technically connected you are with industry
Whether or not you have an advisory board, that's pretty good. That might be under outreach and collaboration. Are you talking about students? There you go. That's evolving program effort. It's to show that we actually have students in the classes. Because I don't know about your schools, but I've heard that there are colleges and universities, I'm sure it's the other ones out in the hall, none of you guys. It's probably OCC. That have, sorry, just kidding, that have programs on the books or classes that haven't been taught in 10 years. But they're there. We have it, but we don't really teach punch cards anymore, except at OCC, right? So you have to show that you have enrollments, or maybe people that have gone through the program. So if you're brand new and you're starting your cybersecurity today, like you're just, after you walk out of here, you're so inspired, you do not have a sustainable evolving program yet, if you're at the permission stage. But if you've had a couple of semesters of students going through, then you have sustainable evolving program. Okay? Faculty-centered leadership, or should I use this ancient, look at this laser pointer 1.0, right? Faculty-centered leadership. My gosh, I haven't seen one of these since my honeymoon. Okay, so anyway, faculty-centered leadership. Isn't it amazing? It's that piece that I started with, is it has to be led by faculty. It can't be some administrator somewhere that says, oh, by the way, we're a center of academic excellence, and they've conjured it up in the budget office somewhere. It has to be, faculty own the curriculum. You need to decide how you want to teach it. You have that academic freedom, what we're going to teach, how we're going to teach it, and that's what they want to see, and they want to see that the faculty is involved and that they all talk to each other. And I know some of you are right, but we don't really talk to each other. We actually don't like each other, and you've heard of committees before. Even if it's 2 of you, 3 of you, as long as faculty are involved and you design the program and you can show that you meet that criteria. Student-centered scholarship. Not scholarship like we're going to pay for you to go to school, but things like you're not just teaching to bubble tests, that the students are actually learning something. Duh, right? You guys are all professionals. You already do that. You don't walk in and say, how am I going to teach this class with the least amount of effort and get these bozos out of here? No, you're here right now. You're trying to learn something. And that's what they want to see, is that you have this, you have labs, you have facilities, you have maybe a project, maybe you do some project outside of the classroom, maybe you have a club. I don't know what it is, but they want to see that you aren't just, we got a Security Plus book, and so we're going to go through it, we're going to fill out, and everybody takes a Security Plus test. Now, are there schools that do things like that? Sure. We know that, right? I could name names, but I'm not going to because I'm being recorded. But it's none of the people in this room because you guys are here trying to figure out how to pull this off. So we want to, they just want to make sure it's faculty driven for the benefit of the students, right? This is what we want. Yes?
Do the faculty have to be certified in this way?
Typically, at most community colleges, you have to prove that you are qualified to teach, right? Would it help in the CAE 2Y? And I would say yes. If you have a Security Plus class or a Cisco class, you should obviously have a Cisco-approved instructor. Yes?
I mean, California qualified.
Yes.
That's what all courses right now. I'm saying, is there anything above just being registered in California?
You know, if you're, like I started our program with faculty that had got their PhDs in 1910, okay? And cybersecurity was a little different back then. It was skeleton keys and locks and chains and things. And we showed a pattern that our faculty went out and they got professional development. And you guys have to do that all the time. You have to get your professional development in. Yes?
In previous session, someone mentioned someone on staff has to be a CISSP.
It is a good idea, yes. Is it mandatory? I think there's a gray area because there's other competing certifications. So just the NSA and DHS is not going to stamp that you have to have someone's brand. It's kind of like, I would say, if you want to know what types of certifications are qualified for your faculty, take a look at the 8570, the DoD 8570. Okay, that's the Department of Defense's 8570. It's basically approved cybersecurity for employment. It's these ones, and bare minimum, it's things like Security Plus and so on. But NSA and DHS, they might use an example like CISSP, but they're not going to say you must be a CISSP because that's endorsing a brand name and the government can't get involved in that. Okay? And then we have the ever famous supporting evidence, no lying, supporting evidence. You have to have supporting evidence, documentation, etc., and what we call other stuff, something you deem as equivalent. We don't do this, but we do this instead, and we think this is better, and here's why. Insert your own example there. We do project days at Cal State San Bernardino. Every Friday we don't have classes. Students just show up, and we have a whole list of projects, and we just have them work on whatever it is. It could be Raspberry Pis, could be Python programming, it could be anything that students are conjuring up. And we think that's important, so we documented that and said we think this is the way because we can't necessarily always adapt our classes. Okay, quickly enough for market conditions. So the next piece, I'm not going to get into the 4-year, but the next piece of the puzzle is, what does curriculum look like? Okay. What are the specific curricular objectives you have to meet? The good news is Cyberwatch West is here to help you with that process. The first point of documentation is the syllabus. The next point of documentation is your textbook or other resources. And you have to come up with this little grid that checks off and says, I meet the certain knowledge unit criteria in my courses. That is not necessarily an easy task because some of you don't necessarily know what someone else is teaching. The first point is the syllabus, etc. The good news is that Cyberwatch West wants to help you with that for the price of $10,000 checks payable to Tony Coulson. I'll do it for $2,000 today. Yeah. No, we do it for free at Cyberwatch West. As a matter of fact, this young man over here, he works in the San Francisco area. He was one of my alumni. He helped us with mapping. This is Paris Cisneros. And so Paris is the Cyberwatch West KU mapping person. He's the one that if you sign up for mapping assistance, we'll do online sessions, and then you'll be interacting with Paris and sending him materials, and he will help and start mapping out and show you the gaps. And then you have to do your research, and we get you to the point of it's mapped out. The 6 criteria, I can help you verbally, we can provide assistance, etc., but really you need to do it. You need to invest your time and effort into doing it. So I'm going to turn things over to Paris. He's going to go through the technical part of mapping, and then at the end we'll answer some questions, and then we'll have people sign up if you're interested. Leave us with your business card, and we will contact you, and we'll get you involved in the next session, which we're going to start probably February 1st, and then we'll carry you through to the next deadline for submitting your knowledge units, and we'll try and get that done. Steve? The first submission period expires January 15th. Anybody ready to get it all done by January 15th in here? No. But the good news is that the program directors, both program directors are coming to Cal State San Bernardino on January 20th at our Cybersecurity Summit. Anybody local to San Bernardino in here? No? You come on out, and the program directors for the CAE program will be in town. So you could ask them direct questions like when the next deadline is. I am going to surmise that the next deadline will likely be before June for submittal of the application. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Paris.
Thank you. Hello, everybody. So here we have the knowledge units needed for, as it states, core, the 2-year colleges, and then core 4-year and optional knowledge units. So this is what Tony was mentioning. We map all the courses to. So what I do is I first start off by asking for the syllabus for each class, and for a program write-out of each course that's in your information security program or computer program that you offer, so that when I'm mapping it, I'm not only mapping it the syllabus for that class, but also taking into account, hey, they're taking this class to take this other course in the program that's going to cover what maybe this course isn't covering for this knowledge unit. So for 2-year colleges, what's needed that does need to be filled out completely is the green section on the left, the core 2-year knowledge units. So that is, once we go in, what that means is that that one. So what I mean by that they all have to be filled out is that every one of those knowledge units in the green section, once you click in, it'll open up and have different topics within that knowledge unit that need to be covered. So what I do is go into the syllabus and then put in, some syllabus have more information than others. So for example, some syllabus cover week by week. They say we're covering this topic with this chapter in the book. Some syllabus give me that level of information to where I can just use that level and transfer it over. But then some other syllabus just say, hey, this is what we cover week 1, week 2, week 3, and they don't say what the topic is or what level in the chapter. So at that point, then I need to confer with people or look into the book for that specific course. But if they provide that level of information, then I just come over and put it into what section I feel goes with the topic. Here, for example, as Tony was saying, some of the certifications have already been mapped. For example, here Security Plus and the SSCP have already been mapped to Intro to Cryptography. So if you were to tell me, hey, we're within these 2 or 3 courses, we're covering Security Plus, then I would be able to go in and say Security Plus topics, 4.3, 6.2. Yeah. So just an example for those certificates are covered. And for others that are, this is just a description in the syllabus saying that's what we covered on that week. So for the 2 years, we would need to cover all the green sections. So once I go through all the syllabus and try to cover them as many as I see that fit, I send it back for your review, and then you can send back any questions you might have to me, and then if you want, we can sit down and discuss and fill in anything that you feel might be missing, change. The other issue is for optional KUs, this is just anything that you might cover that as I'm looking through, I say, oh, they're also covering, mobile technologies or life cycle security or something that maybe isn't required, but it's also good to know when you're turning in everything, and they'll notice that you're also covering something. Exactly. Yeah, like I say, I'll always try to make sure that all those are covered first, and then whatever else flows over, say, hey, you guys also kind of fit in here. And I will say that just happened for me because I've done it like 5 or 6 times now. I kind of know if you're covering networking concepts, then you're probably going to go advanced network protocols, and they're just going to be, it's going to be real easy for me to copy and paste. But like you said, we're really focusing on the core ones. Definitely, and it's a combination of the issues you just said. It could either be that they just need to fill it in, or it might be that I just need more information from the book, or it might be that I am currently waiting with one school that's in the process of changing their syllabi, so there's no point doing anything. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh, you mean like awareness versus performance?
I would say that's not really. I would say the closest thing would be something that's covered in just concepts will go more in depth on advanced.
Well, let me fill that in for you. When you actually take this information that's on the spreadsheet, you now have to go into the I should grab the microphone. Okay, the question is, are there levels of performance, if you will, within the various knowledge units? Okay, we provide you with a spreadsheet all filled out, but what you need to do is go into the mapping system. When you file your letter of intent, they will give you an account at the NSA to start entering in information. And it'll take the knowledge unit, and you'll say, class this, here is where we demonstrate it, and then it's going to ask you how you demonstrate it. So is it lecture, is it test, is it laboratory, is it equivalent? Or if you have a gap in there, you say, we don't do it there, but we participate in the collegiate cyber defense competition, which would cover this area. So we will, or Paris in the mapping will say, here's in your syllabus where you say you do it. That's the documented way. But how you do it, that's where you when you fill out the mapping directly into their system, that's where you're going to take some artistic license and say, here's how it's done. We do not enter it into the NSA system for you. We're not allowed to. Okay? But we do provide you with the information. Hopefully that answers your question.
Any other questions? Yeah, so hopefully. So here's one that's broken down by the course and then the book. So first, I broke it down by what the topic was going to be covered and how that topic related to the knowledge unit topic. And then because that wasn't in the syllabus, it didn't state, you know, how that was covered. It just stated that this topic was covered. Afterwards, I went in and put in the chapters of what they went over in the chapters so that they could look over when you put it in the system to say, we covered these topics in this chapter and did a lecture, a lab, accompanied along with it. Yes?
Yeah, I mean, is there a minimum response for how much time you spend? For example, there's no time component. Can you do this in half a semester? I mean, would you do this in half a semester?
Entirely up to you. If there's a problem that the evaluator has, like they don't say how many course hours.
That's everything.
Yeah, you know, but if let's say in their system they run a report and it shows that in a syllabus within a week you cover all knowledge units, the evaluator is going to look at it and say, no, that's right. They want to see that it's substantive, and you're also going to have a visitor that's going to come. So it has to be real. Yes, and that's exactly right. It's reasonable, and they understand that there's a plethora of folks and different approaches. They don't want to get involved in stifling your approach to this. They want to get involved in, do you cover some of these things, because we see these as being kind of mandatory sort of skills that somebody in this field would have. But that, if you look at the optional CAEs, that's where the flavor comes in. What is your signature activity? What is it that your school does? Could it be Cisco? Because I'll tell you right now, if you're Cisco Academy and you teach Security Plus, you already have pretty much some of the knowledge in your base. As a matter of fact, you mapped somebody that did Cisco, right?
Yeah.
So if you say you teach Cisco, the Cisco Academy, the complete academy with the Security Academy, we just need your syllabi to put it into your language, but we've already mapped it out for you. It makes it a lot easier.
Yeah, and it's similar to the same thing as the Security Plus and the SSP, just showing the actual assignments that go to the test when you're looking at it. And like you said, it takes really as long as you want it. I try to ask for as much information from the syllabus in the book so I can put as much information into there because there is no clear defined line.
If you have just spitball, if you have an average that you've seen, an average number of courses that cover all this,
I would say the last 4 that I've done, I started in.
I don't know if we can answer that. We have a small statistical sample, right?
Yeah.
4 or 5, and they're on quarter system, and you're on cement. We haven't done that kind of thing. Well, number of courses is irrelevant too, because this is about what you cover, not in how many courses you cover. They're not that. The question relative to scope. That's really an academic freedom sort of issue. With samples that are department approved handed to faculty, be accepted. Does that make sense? This is my my interpretation. So let me grab this for a second. Okay, so the question is academic freedom, department approved syllabi versus the actual faculty syllabi. Personally, I would do genuine faculty syllabi, not just department approved. You can provide both in your documentation because you have to provide proof. When you submit it in the system, they're going to want to see copies. Why? Because it verifies that it's robust. It's developing, it's evolving. Academic freedom in this case is not a negative, it's a positive because it shows that your faculty are involved. If it's a challenge at your school because you have one of those particular faculty, I don't want the NSA knowing how I'm teaching it, or I'm embarrassed by my horrible syllabi that I've used since 1968, and all I do is say, we will cover something in it, right? Then don't submit that one. Submit the one from the faculty who took a little bit of time. But are some faculty in my own university, when I had to submit, there's some faculty that just say week 1 through 10. That's it. So what's Paris's job in this? Well, he gets the textbook and goes through, and if they say we're going to read chapter 1 today, are any of the knowledge units within the textbook that are covered when he says we're going to do chapter 1 that day? Because that shows that if they really did chapter 1, the students read required reading, took a quiz on it or a test, that shows that the student has exposure to whatever the item is. Adjuncts, yes. But they already have a syllabus. You're not asking them to put this together. They have to submit a syllabus to the department when they teach a class, correct? So it's just a copy of a syllabus. They don't have to do any of this work.
There is one that I'm waiting for that has that issue, where they sent me the syllabi and I was like, well, they don't really tell me anything other than like what you're going to learn for the course. So I told them I can map you to the basic knowledge units to tell you, hey, you're probably going to cover this and this, but I can't go and cover a topic until you give me a book. So I can.
I guess I view this opportunity to apply as an opportunity to improve.
None of this will hurt you. None of this will hurt you. This will only help you to improve and cover gaps. How often do you have a department meeting and you say, let's discover the gaps we have in our curriculum? I haven't seen it. If you have it, I want to come visit you. Oh, I don't. Yeah, so, the NSA, DHS evaluators, they completely understand it's a university or a college, and they understand the issues. The question for you to solve is, do I actually teach this? And if I don't, where should I teach it?
So we could, in California, we could submit, rather than the syllabus, we could submit the course outline of record. Officially submitted to the state of California.
You could do that, but I would recommend that you also submit a syllabus to show that the class is actually being taught, right? That makes a big difference. And also the qualification of the faculty, even if they're adjuncts and not tenured, in there if they're an adjunct, that's great. Everyone understands that community colleges rely heavily on adjuncts. Because you guys get paid so well, it's not a problem getting adjuncts. I was getting a chuckle on that one. The sarcasm, like sort of the joke section.
Any other questions?
I didn't want to interrupt your presentation.
Yeah, I'm done. I'm done.
Okay. One of the things that I guess maybe you answered that you've only done before, I've been asking people for several months, you teach the Cisneros Academy, you teach an A+ class, 30+ class. And I said, someone has had to map these courses before, why am I doing it again?
That's why we're here.
Okay. So one of the things that I would suggest, and maybe because it's new, because I am a Cyberwatch West member and I call the website, make that knowledge more public.
Well, we did. What we do is we do this in session. So Paris is not a permanent employee of Cyberwatch West. Paris does this in between, his wife and his child. And we're working in San Francisco at an unnamed location. So what we do is we do these sessions. So the last session was advertised in September, it started in October.
Yeah.
And so this next session, we're going to start basically February 1, and we'll continue it through April, and then we stop, because it's all also dependent on the NSA DHS submission guidelines. But I have to pay him, and what we don't want is a bunch of people that sign up, and he doesn't do anything, and he likes to have money, he'd like to have time. We need to make sure that it's done. So if you just joined in October, you missed that piece, and you're not going to hear about that. But Cyberwatch West, if you sign up, we have a number of activities that are also count for your outreach and collaboration. So one, you can sign up for this. Two, you can sign up for faculty mentors, see what other faculty are doing, and help you develop your own courses that are interesting, or join in on what somebody has already done. The third part is we have an opportunity, if you don't have a club but you want student-centered scholarship, we have a program called Student to Student, which is basically, let's say you have a student that did some type of presentation or something in class that is awesome and incredible, and you say, you know what, we should do this for, well, come to Cyberwatch West, we'll put you on our online network like what we're doing right here, and we'll set up a session, and that student can do a virtual presentation to clubs from across the country. We usually end up with 60 to 70 students from across the country log in to hear your student's presentation, and all we ask is that, once in a while you sign in. And so we'll have entire club events or classroom events online just because somebody had a student do something. So we've had man-in-the-middle attacks. We've had Raspberry Pis. We've had a number of other things that are all explained as kind of a brown bag seminar, but they're done online, and it gives you an opportunity to show that outreach, student scholarship, our students are doing something great, and here's a venue where they had a national audience where they presented it. All of that. So who in here is a member of Cyberwatch West? All right, so we've got some newbies. We've got some MOUs for you guys to sign. We want that. Cyberwatchwest.org is the website, cyberwatchwest.org. And it looks like, are we almost out of time? We're done? Okay. We need to write down, whoever wants to do the knowledge units, or give me your business cards. And if you want to do the knowledge unit mapping, we'll set you up. We'll notify you of when it's going to start in February. But in order to take advantage of it, you must have the signed MOU for Cyberwatch West. You have to be a member, which is basically, it's a piece of paper. You fill it out online. You have your dean sign it, and away you go. And hopefully you don't have one of those deans. Okay, thank you.